Hi there, Jason Hernandez, chef of the National Mango Board. Today we're making mango bread. Well, what is that? Mango bread is delicious. It's one of those things, a couple simple ingredients that you have in house. Mangoes, of course. We're gonna use a couple different styles of mangoes. We're gonna use mangoes that may be a little bit overripe, that are gonna be a little bit softer in our mango puree. We're gonna use mangoes that are also a little bit underripe that are gonna go inside of our bread itself. So let's walk through the ingredients and then we'll get started. So here we have butter, sugar, mango puree, eggs, vanilla, lime juice, lime zest, flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt, cinnamon, cardamom, walnuts that have been chopped down, and of course, mango pieces. So these are cut into about 1/4-inch pieces. Again, they're gonna be a little bit more on the unripe side. So that way when they bake, they get a little bit more of that soft chew to them. If they go in there a little bit too soft, it might be a little bit too wet. So let's get everything started. Let's get going. All right, so first we have our mixing bowl. We got a little hand mixer. If you don't have a hand mixer, feel free to use a whisk on these first couple parts. So first we're gonna grab our butter. We're gonna place that in. Make sure that's a little bit soft, so that way it mixes a little bit easier. Next, we're gonna grab our sugar. Those two are gonna get mixed together. We're gonna cream those together, which is basically just incorporating those two. Low speed on a mixer, just to get those mixed up. Right around the edge of the bowl. Just getting all that butter covered with the sugar itself. Now that we got those creamed together, we're just gonna add a few more ingredients here. So we have our mango puree. Again, we just took a little bit overripe mangoes, blended those down, give us a nice, sweet, great color, good viscosity, nice texture to the puree itself. I didn't add anything else, no water or anything else added to it, just the mangoes themselves. Next, we're gonna add the eggs. This can help make everything stick together once we bake our bread. Next, we're gonna add our vanilla. If you have vanilla extract or Madagascar vanilla bean, any of those work great. Next, we're gonna add fresh lime juice. So if you wanna squeeze a lime or use fresh lime juice, either one of them works great. Next, we're gonna take the zest of a lime, so the outer skin of a lime. We're gonna use a microplane, just get those little pieces in there. Great, great full flavor inside of there. Now we're gonna mix those together again. So once we have those all mixed together, these are now our wet ingredients. So as you can see, I have two different bowls here. We're gonna have our wet ingredients and our dry ingredients. So again, we'll start with our flour on our dry ingredients. So we'll keep that bowl there, keep those separate for now. So first we're gonna put the flour in the bowl. Next, baking soda, baking powder, salt, cinnamon, and now we're gonna add cardamom. So cardamom is just gonna give it a little bit more flavor, more of that kind of like a rustic flavor to it. Really, really delicious when you're making fresh baked bread. So now we're just gonna mix those up, make sure everything's incorporated well together. Again, we have our two separate bowls, our wet ingredients and our dry ingredients. So making sure that this is all mixed, incorporated well, will give us a full flavor, that same flavor throughout the entire bread. So let's just mix that for a second, then we'll move on. So now that we have our wet ingredients and our dry ingredients separate, now we're gonna mix them together. So I'm gonna add my wet to my dry ingredients and get that fully incorporated. So again, scrape the bowl. You don't wanna lose out on any of that great flavor that we're building inside of there. Get everything out. And again, I'm gonna use a spatula on this just to make sure we get a nice, good mixture. That way we're not overworking everything and make it a little bit flat. So we'll just give it a nice mix here. Make sure to continuously fold everything in. This is what's making that batter for our mango bread. So now we have everything incorporated in. Everything's nice and folded in. You can see our dough's nice and sticky. The good part is you can see that lime zest. You can see those little pieces all the way throughout the mixture. So now we're gonna add walnuts. So again, we're just folding these in and we're gonna fold in our mango pieces. You can see nice bright color, good smelling mangoes, good citrus flavors, good notes. We're just gonna mix those all together. Again, you can see it's quite sticky, which is great. This is gonna make a fantastic bread when we're done. So let's just mix that up. We'll fold it all together and then we'll move over to our pan. So now we're ready to place the bread mixture into our pan. So we have a bread pan here. It is a non-stick pan, but we're gonna spray it a little bit, add a little bit of parchment paper to it, so that way when we take it out, it's a little bit easier to take it out of the pan and let it rest on the cooling rack. So just a nice, easy, gentle spray in there. That's gonna help the paper stick inside of the pan itself. So get that nice tucked into the edges. Again, I'm just gonna give it a quick little spray, make sure that it doesn't stick, we'll be ready to go. So we're taking our mixture, as you can see, nice color, good distribution. It's a little bit sticky, that's perfectly okay. That's exactly what we want, what we're looking for in our mango bread. So let's just put all that into our pan. Make sure you scrape everything out. You don't want to leave anything behind. That's all great flavor that we want to make sure makes it inside our bread. Now we're just going to level that out. Mix it edge to edge. Make sure to get down in those corners. You know, you don't want to press it too much. You want to make sure that when it bakes, it gets a nice good rise out of it. All right, so we're just going to spread that out. Make sure we're nice and even. A good point when making the bread here is to make sure that we're giving it a little tap to loosen it up, right? That'll make sure that all the air bubbles that are inside on the bottom kind of rise to the top. That way you don't get those air pockets inside and your bread will end up crumbling and falling apart. So we'll continue to spread this a little bit more, tap it a few more times, then we're ready to go in the oven. All right, we're ready to place it in the oven now. So even layers throughout, all the air pockets are out of it. Now we're gonna place it in the oven, 350 degrees for 40 minutes. Now an important part here is you wanna make sure that at about 20 minutes, set your timer, turning around the oven. What you wanna do there is make sure that you have an even bake, so that way your entire bread gets baked evenly. Halfway through, give it a turn, about 3/4 of the way through, get a toothpick, we'll test it out, make sure that it's cooked all the way through. So let's get this in the oven. We're gonna place this on the center rack. Got our timer set. We'll check back on it in 20 minutes. All right, so while our bread is cooking, we're gonna make our mango glaze. So again, we're using mango in many different ways here. So we're gonna take some powdered sugar, mango puree, lime juice, and a little bit of salt and make our glaze. So let's get started. So having your powdered sugar inside of a bowl already, we're gonna add our puree. Again, kind of spread this out that we get a nice, good distribution. Once we start mixing this together, it won't end up clumping up on you. Let's get that all out of there. Next, we're gonna add some lime juice. With the lime juice, we have a little bit extra just in case we need to loosen it up a little bit if it's a little bit too thick. Next, we're gonna add salt. So just a couple small pinches on there. Again, this is just gonna boost that flavor. Everything that's inside of there, this is just gonna boost that flavor up a little bit more. Now we're just gonna mix. So slowly start to mix everything together. Powdered sugar is gonna get incorporated with all the liquids in there, with that mango puree, with that lime juice. So be gentle, you don't wanna mix too fast, otherwise it's gonna go all over the place. So take your time, you got a few more minutes until that bread's ready to turn. So as we finish mixing this, you can see we got a nice, good, smooth texture to it. This is gonna be great to go right all over top of our bread. So we'll set this aside. When the bread's done cooking, we'll put a nice good glaze over the top. We'll be ready to go. All right, so timer's going off here in a second. We're gonna give it a turn. That way it cooks evenly on both sides. So as the timer goes off, be careful opening the oven. Let kind of that air come out first so you don't get burned. Just gonna give it a little bit of a twist. Push it back in, right in the center of the oven. Set our timer one more time. We'll take it out of the oven in about 20 minutes. All right, so our bread's about to come out of the oven right now. We're gonna check it with a pick just to make sure it's cooked all the way through. Then we're gonna let it sit for a few minutes just to cool down. Then we'll pull it out of the pan and let it fully rest. So timer's going off, let's get it out of the oven. Smells fantastic. Looks great. Color on it. Nice golden brown. You can see the mango pieces come through. See a little bit of those lime zest in there. Color looks amazing. So let's let it rest for 10 minutes. But before that, we want to check it. So we have our pick here. You want to go right down the center. Pull it out. Make sure it comes out clean. So you don't want anything sticking to that pick. Once it comes out clean, you're fully cooked. Again, the temperature of the pan is going to cook it out just a little bit more. So you don't want to leave it in that pan too long. So about 10 minutes, we'll pull it out of the pan. We'll let it rest. All right, so we've let it sit for about 10 minutes. Now we want to carefully lift it out of the pan so that way it can cool even more. So you can see it lifts right out. That's what that paper's for, so you can get a nice good pull on it. Set it aside. You can see we've got great color, edge to edge. Wow, this looks fantastic, smells great. Now remember that glaze we made earlier? We're gonna reserve a little bit for later, so once it's fully cooled. But right now, we're just gonna brush the top while it's warm, just to get some of that flavor to soak inside of there. So you get that nice, sweet texture, nice, good, sweet flavor going all the way throughout the bread. So we're just gonna brush this on, let it finish resting, and we'll slice it up in a little bit. All right, we have everything fully cooked, fully cold. Now we're just ready to eat it. So be careful when slicing. Bread knife works the best for cutting bread. So we're just gonna cut a little slice over here, as thick or as thin as you like it. Take a look inside. You can see all those mango pieces, the walnut fully cooked. Looks delicious, looks fantastic. You got the glaze right on top. Really, really fantastic mango bread. So serve it with the side of the glaze, use it as a little dunker. Either way you like it, it's gonna be great. So for full recipe, hit us up at mango.org. Find out the full recipe, full ingredient amounts, and you'll be able to cook it at home by yourself. So enjoy, happy cooking, have a great day.